New Ossiden details reveal more for Lost Colony. More story DLC maps to arrive after Gen 2. And Araneo locked in as your first creature TLC. You're right kids, it's Raasclark and welcome to your regular ARK community news. Before we begin, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, share around and let's get into it. Because Community Crunch 484 offers us a new reveal to the Acidon, the brand new creature that's going to be a part of Lost Colony, that map, when it arrives in December, but we're going to get it a little bit sooner. In fact, very, very soon, next week. On November the 18th, you'll be able to encounter this thing within cold biomes on Ragnarok, Valguero and the Center, and only until Lost Colony finally drops on December the 16th. Still dated for then. Is it going to change? We'll see. Worth noting, you will have to have purchased the Lost Colony expansion pass if you plan to tame this or use this at all, but this brand new image certainly reaffirms this to be an absolute juggernaut. A frost-bitten and relentless presence, feeling somewhat reminiscent of a King Kong poster. What's interesting to me is we can see a survivor riding this thing without actually riding it. I don't know whether it's perhaps an artist's impression with its apparent owner standing upright on its back as it launches forward, but looking at previous images there is the absence of rain, so maybe it's just simply an artist's impression sort of deal. Either way, I am fascinated to see this thing in action, seeming to be on par with Titans and literally being dubbed a Titan killer, a bio-engineered creature by the Lost Colonists who we might or might not be interacting with when we find out what these NPC raids are all about when we check out the map in December, and as expected looks as ferocious as those original images revealed. The armor especially is something very unique, seeming to be on theme with what we've seen so far, teased at the Lost Colony content we've seen so far. And speaking of, we are seeing a little bit of Lost Colony here in the background, but really not too much to go on. I do wonder whether that obscure tower-like structure in the top right could be possibly some form of obelisk. And on the left there could either be an element vein or perhaps a piece of that alien architecture that we wander into when we get near tech caves or artifact caves. Maybe reaching a little bit there, but what we aren't reaching on is what our survivor in the palm of the Acidon is wielding. Hello there, brand new crossbow. That's certainly not anything like the crossbows we've got in ARK so far. In fact, confirming that original dev kit leak that Laraptor Sausage sent to us that revealed an engram entry for a brand new fabricated crossbow is definitely coming with this new map. Not quite the Van Helsing look I thought they might be going for with this, because Gothic inspired architecture, vampires and all that jazz, I thought it'd flow in with that. It's looking possibly a bit more advanced, which would make sense when you think bioengineered creatures and some crazy wild demonic looking tech suits. And a real wonder what on earth this thing is going to offer differently to a normal primitive crossbow. Not forgetting at some point soon we're going to be getting the tech bow back once again when Gen 2 arrives to ARK Ascended, and we're going to be touching on that again in just a moment. What this brand new crossbow is going to do differently to any other weapon we've seen so far in ARK is really anyone's guess. But what it does confirm, at the very least, is we're going to be seeing brand new weapons. Brand new structures have already been teased to be arriving with this map, and combined with the wonder of how many brand new creatures are going to be coming with this brand new DLC alongside. And now, of course, the new known environmental and weather effects and the very ominous, wondrous NPC raids we're going to be getting with this new map. If we'll be seeing an extension on skill trees, any more advancements on the tech bunker, for example, what the hell truly is dark tech and red elements, there feels like there's a lot of new content to check out with this new canon expansion map. At the very least, we do know, and credit once again to Laraptor Sausage, that it is currently running version of it testing for PC, Xbox and PlayStation, and to be a fly on the wall to wonder what exactly is going on this server, I just can't wait to see. So the extra life donations for TLC, holy hell, what happened this week? Last weekend, of course, a giant amount was raised by a bunch of awesome creators. Everybody got stuck in to raise obscene amounts, more than we have ever done before in the history of raising money for a charity function for Extra Life for ARK in the years prior to this. Everybody raised phenomenal, triple, quadruple the amounts they normally raise year on year. It has been a phenomenal effort from everybody involved. But at the end of the weekend, it had paused somewhere around 160,000 with just over 15,000 to go, but it got blown out of the park over this week. Some giant donations were offered to push beyond Studio Wildcard's 5th TLC goal of 175,000, and that does mean we're going to see 5 brand new TLCs over the next year, months, who knows. Wildcard haven't specifically said when to expect these TLCs. With a wonder, with so many weeks still left to go before the actual cut-off date, will they possibly bring in a 6th TLC, with whoever's ranked 2 by November the 21st to be that locked-in announced winner, the 3rd winner on November the 28th, the 4th on December the 5th, and the final 5th on December the 12th. There's still quite a lot of time to donate, and I wonder, is that going to change at all as we count down? Already an immense amount has already been raised. I will be surprised if even more gets raised, but if it does, wow, what an incredible effort from everybody in the community to raise stuff for causes such as Ella's here. It really does speak volumes. But that's right, as we've now passed the cutoff date for the first TLC, that is now truly well and locked in. The Araneo is going to be an absolute definite TLC coming to you. In what form, in what aesthetics? It's truly a wonder, because that's what TLC does, both visuals and abilities when applied to a creature. We haven't actually seen a proper full-blown TLC since 2020, believe it or not, but well, there was a few things teased by Wildcard some time ago that might allude to what we might see from the Araneo. See, when they were dropping a few ARK 2 teasers just after the trailer announced, there was concept art offered for their new version of the Araneo. Could this simply be it? Could this be an influence to what we're going to see for a visual overhaul of the ARK 1 Araneo? Most definitely looking like a much more fearsome encounter out there in the wild. It's already giving me the willies looking at the fine spiky hairs covering the beast's many little baby spiders all over its bum. I am genuinely getting the willies looking at this thing. We can see in this concept art here the scaled impression of a now decayed, long lost, gone survivor, which almost scale-wise marries up with the Araneo we've got in ARK 1 so far. Could perhaps what the developers intended with this new version of the Araneo for ARK 2 be influencing this new TLC? And if that's the case, get ready for baby spiders crawling all over your face. Nightmare fuel. On top of that, me and the Raasclarks got talking about what we'd like to see from the Araneo TLC. I think an absolute bona fide category 1 is this thing here, wall climbing, right? That was featured by Kraken's Better Dinos. You can't not have a wall climbing spider. And then something very obviously obvious came to mind, that yeah, we're seeing a few features from later maps being brought into ARK a bit early. What if this is actually a mobile walking net gun before we get the net gun in Gen 2? It would probably make sense to see that with this Araneo as well, or at least some form of bowler attack. I think we'll see something like that with this Araneo TLC, or at least I'm hoping for that anyway. And despite this being a creature I was personally backing, because let's face it, you're never going to tame an Araneo otherwise, there is possibly 2 elephants in the room Wildcard are going to have to address, and that's, well, Broodmother fights, because of course Broodmother spawns a bunch of different Araneo minions for you to fend off, so whatever TLC gets added to this version of the Araneo will take effect on these minions within the Broodmother boss fights, and that means it could find them to be much more powerful, stronger to fight against. And let's face it, Alpha Broodmummy is already a bit of a punishing fight as it is. And then of course when Gen 1 arrives, we are going to get some form of wall climbing, swinging spider with that map, the Bloodstalker. Don't forget, that's going to be coming and going to be offering a bunch of different spider abilities that could be overriding what we're going to get with the Araneo. It's going to certainly present a challenge with what the Araneo can do that's different to what the Bloodstalker can already do, or will be probably intending to do when we get it with ASA. And then of course the Cosmo. Either way, if you're a spider fan, it's never been a better time to play ARK. You're going to get some great new features with a brand new TLC Araneo. You're going to get, of course, that crazy blood-sucking variant on Genesis 1 when that comes next year, and your bona fide Spooder-swinging friend Cosmo. With the Therizino climbing the ranks from its 4th place back up to 2nd place, is that going to be the next locked-in TLC by next Friday? I guess time will tell. Will the votes sway the rankings even further as we count down to next week, or could we be seeing anything brand new entering the fold as we came down to that last lock-in date. And speaking of Genesis 1 and Genesis 2, as we have during this news video, it occurred to me in our interview with Jeremy Stieglitz last weekend as part of a reward of raising such a great amount for Extra Life, and once again a big thank you for everybody that contributed for that, that in all of the answers that he gave us to us, there was one thing that I completely glanced over. We went over this in great detail in our news video last weekend, covering everything to look forward to for Lost Colony and the future of ARK. Of course, the now redesigned Gen 1 and Gen 2 maps that we're going to be seeing with brand new explorable map-wide water biomes and space biomes respectively. But one thing I missed not once but twice when covering this interview was Jeremy confirming that we will indeed be getting story canon maps after the team gears up for their next ASA full map expansion pack. And it's a real wonder where on earth that's going to take us, because of course we've got Lost Colony, which bridges the links between Extinction and Gen 1. Genesis 1 is still planned for April 2026, though I expect to see a delay announcement on that at the end of the year. And then of course Gen 2 following that in August. Again, I'm going to guess the delay is going to be on that one as well, followed by Fjorda. Where the hell are Lost Colony and Crystal Isles, I hear you ask? We really don't know yet. But seeing that Genesis Part 2 literally closes us out, introducing us to the planet of Arat where ARK 2 is set, where on earth are these new story maps going to take place? My guess would be, as Jeremy teased in that same interview, a few new plot lines are going to be revealed, queuing up new storylines to follow, which might continue our survivor's journey across Earth beyond Arat. Maybe we don't even transfer off Arat to the Genesis ship initially. Maybe there's other places to venture on Earth, or maybe even the surrounding arcs, because we know somehow the reseed protocol that brought all of the arcs back down to Extinction, well, didn't seem to happen as it was intended over at Lost Colony / Arat Prime. What we do know, at the very least, confirmed by Jeremy in a video by NanoStel, is that Rockwell won't be the main antagonist of Lost Colony. Not forgetting there's a brand new character called the Lost King that's going to be voiced by Keith David, and the theory of Mei Yin possibly being your final encounter in the shape or form of some sort of vampire-looking beast, still feeling weighty enough to be true, delivered through mappa animations and brand new CGI cutscenes, mocapped by the voice actors themselves, in-game events, lest we forget a lot of new story elements possibly might be reshaping a new path towards new arcs to venture around before we actually reach that Gen 2 ending. /ARK 2, not forgetting the original plan for this sequel was to run in tandem with ARK Survival Ascended. Is that still going to be the case with the different varied gameplay features this sequel offers? Who knows what's going on behind Wildcard's doors. What we do know though is a brand new big giant monster of a creature is being launched next week, and I can't wait to get my hands on it. Can you comment below? Let me know. Until the next one, my name's Raasclark. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and as always, peace out.